Greetings, friends! It's Denise again with Denise's Dancing Paintbrush, and this time I don't have a collage. I have a digital image of a little fairy I made, and so I wanted to show you the process. I started by looking for just the right background. I wanted a mushroom. And so I have a whole file full of mushrooms, photos I've taken, photos I've collected from the free photo sites. And as I scroll through, I'm sort of looking for a specific one, not red this time, but one that will just sit. This little girl that I took a picture of in my backyard long ago. And then this one looks like it will do. You see, it's not big enough for my my artboard there, and so what I decided to do was duplicate it and pull one down, so I've got a double background on the top, and then I flipped it to one side so it doesn't look quite so obvious. And even more, I took a very soft brush and masked out some of the one above. And then I'm cloning parts of the upper one, parts of the lower one to kind of blend them together. And as you can see, it's not a perfect blend, but I'm going to make the background, the back part very dark. And I started, of course, by trying to just put a black over it. And then I thought, no, what I should do is create a brightness and contrast layer, and that did it. See, I just darkened the background and masked part of that brightness filter, and so only the very back is darkened. And now I'm going to look for my little girl. See, I took pictures of these little girls, the neighbor girls, and they were so sweet to sit out there and pose for me. They had been out playing and yelling and making all sorts of noise. And I had them all sit down and pose. But this one little girl in the front, she was not quite 3 years old. She had quite the attitude, and I thought, oh, won't she make the cutest little fairy? And as you can see, I've got to mask out the background. It was a very grassy surface they were sitting on, so it's not exactly perfect. But you know it's going to do because I'm going to zoom out a bit. Also, I've got to mask in between her fingers very carefully and get out all that little, artifacts of grass. But you can see the photo did not take a good picture of her heel. I missed part of her. So I'm going to clone a new heel. And I made it work. I just cloned the upper part of her foot, made it look like the bottom part of her foot. Now I've got to mask out part of her bum there so that it looks like she's actually sitting on the mushroom. And this is where I get to add things. The fun part is when I start adding little wreaths on their head and ribbons and cool stuff like that. I had made these little wreaths ahead of time. I did some with white flowers and pink flowers and greens and berries and all sorts of things. I thought this one would work really well. But you see, it's just sitting there. I've got to make a shadow underneath it on her face to make it look like it matches. It actually sits on her head and not just floats over the surface. Then I've got to find some wings. I've got to pick appropriate wings. And there's one I cut out long ago. I had to duplicate it to give her 2 little butterfly wings. But you see there, they're not sitting in the same plane that she is. So I'm going to take the one on the right and see if I can't liquefy it. Now, I liquefied it first, as you can see. Liquefying is an interesting way to stretch the pixels, but the problem with it is that they look stretched. And it doesn't match the one in the back, on the other side, on the left. So I decided I didn't like it, and I deleted it and duplicated the other side. And this time I'm going to just skew it instead of liquefying it. And now I've got to, see, now her heel doesn't touch the mushroom. I've got to tilt her a little bit and then fix the part that I erased there on her little bottom to make her fit on there. Now it looks like it fits. Now it looks like her heel might actually be touching the mushroom. And then she needs a shadow underneath her to have form and mass. You cast a shadow. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They forget the shadows. Now I created a layer underneath everything, and I call it glow, and I'm just painting white underneath her. And then another layer I called sparkles or fairy dust, and I'm just making little white dots. So it looks like she's shimmering a little there, and she's dropping fairy dust all over the place. And I duplicated that layer to make it look even brighter. Now that's all right and good, but there's still, I need to add something to tie the whole image together. I think the problem when you're adding a photo on top of a photo is they weren't taken at the same time, the same place, or with the same camera. And so they're not tied together. They don't exactly match. So I've got this layer that I change to soft light. And you can see I'm using different blending modes to see what works best. And I think soft light works. It ties all the images together a little bit better. But even more, I'm going to add a vignette. I'm using a dark blue. I just dumped paint, and then I'm masking very pale around the edges, but a lot out of the center to give it a vignette kind of a thing where it looks dark around the edges and she glows, she pops out of the center. And that's what I wanted for my little fairy. Now she's a little fairy with attitude. Got her little fist on her chin. So I name it and save it, and there it is. What do you think? The finished product. I'll zoom in for you here so you can see her little face, her little attitude. There's probably lots more I could have done. I probably could have put more of a shadow on her wings. I could have sharpened up her face a little bit. But this was really just a fast fairy picture for fun. Do tell me how you like it. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end, and come again. Check out some of my links and give me a thumbs up if you liked this one. Bye everyone. See you next time.